One time we were her daughter is a miniature girl. And it was the cutest thing you've ever seen because I'm on the screen. And so, who was doing the presentation that Sienna was doing all the writing on that screen that night? She was just writing, and she was perfect. And I noticed how perfect she was, so I just started going up on the board and writing on her stuff. And that little girl was this tall, wasn't she? And she was so doggone mad at me that she didn't say anything. And so every time she wrote, I'd write on top. And she'd go change it. I love her. She's just like you. She is? She wouldn't let me get away with that now? All right, you tell her I said that. All right. Every day, take your children to work day. That's pretty cool. I think you can sneak out and go to the bathroom if you want without taking a break. So let's do that right now, and then we'll come back on Denice because you're not going to want to be here. So go to the bathroom real fast. It's got to like your socks. So those of you that are home, I think I'll talk to you for a minute because I haven't seen you all in a long time. Hello, Ann Parker. Hello, Becky McCauley. Who else is on? So James, that you can shout some names out to. Oh yeah, so this is her breath mints, because those are her breath mints in the car, and I cannot get them open. So I'm just like ripping them.
He just ripped it.
Yeah, and I felt like a total rubber.
So we have Bob Baker, Cindy
Bob Baker,
Burdick,
I love Bob Baker.
Becky
McCauley, she's on here.
Denise,
Chenault, she's right here.
Doug,
She's great.
Doug and Cindy Burdick,
I love Doug and Cindy Burdick.
Dr. Lisa Singletary,
She's the greatest. Dr. Lisa.
Jan, Jennifer Bishop,
Jennifer Bishop.
Jeremy
Oklahoma
Jones.
City. Who else?
Jeremy Jones,
Jeremy's a huge man.
Kathy Ingalls,
Kathy Ingalls is here.
Kenny and Patty Roberts,
I love Kenny and Patty Roberts, especially Patty.
Kevin's iPhone,
Kevin, oh, I love Kevin's his last name. He's got to change his last name. That iPhone. How would you like to be named iPhone?
I know, huh?
What's his last name?
iPhone,
iPhone. That means he signed in on his iPhone. So
Kevin's iPhone.
His middle name's I. His last name's Phone. All right, keep going.
The amazing Lanny Sharp,
Oh, she's the greatest, Lanny Sharp.
Michael Clarkson,
Michael Clarkson was supposed to be here. You get in your car.
Where are you?
Paula Gowan,
I love her.
Rebecca Kozak,
That's good news.
Rhonda Coons,
Ron Coons is here.
Roberta,
Roberta's here.
Sally Cleland,
Sally Cleveland. Does Roberta still do the poetry in the front of the Aaron Fire Club? Roberta, where are you? Yes. Keep going.
Steve and Dee Blackburn,
That's good. D's sick. We got to get that straightened out.
TD, touchdown, who that is, TD.
Yeah, go to TD.
Phone number 614.
Okay, good. Oh, that is Louisiana. Good.
Carol, Norman Lavin, and Rich.
Carol, Norm Lehman. It's not Norman, it's Norm. All right, good. That's exciting. Well, I'm glad. Ann's, little Juliet is sick, so Ann's baby's ill. So that's not fun. Yeah, that's what I just heard.
And Rich is the final one.
Rich is here. Tricia Anderson's here. I heard Dr. Ipes here. I heard Lisa's here. I heard that Sharon Watkins came today.
Pamela Ann Swartz.
Pamela Ann Schwartz is here.
How much snow did you get, Sharon?
It's just dusting.
Oh, really? Oh.
No snow in Fort Collins. That's we're talking about the weather.
Marianne's on here. Marianne Niehaus.
And the reason I'm doing all this,
And me.
everybody that's watching, is because I am killing time while everybody goes to the bathroom. I'm watching John Seeley eat a bagel. That's kind of exciting. I'm watching John and Christy Wurzberg collaborate over there in the corner. It's quite the day.
No room for that guy.
Denise Dunlap, your aunt is here. Your niece is here. She's a very nice
I'm
woman.
going to the restroom.
Very cool.
James is really
James is going to the bathroom. Thought he'd make a public announcement about that. Your title is incorrect on.
Need to change it.
Oh.
Black diamond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you at White Diamond? She just keeps ranking up. The woman just keeps ranking up. The good news about our ranks is the higher you go up, the less they give you. What can they really give you? You know, after you make a whole bunch of money, there's not, what do you want? Vacation, you can take a vacation. So I want you guys to get to the top of this thing, because man, I'm telling you, the life up here at this level is something that is incredibly impossible to even fathom. And then all of a sudden you look at the stuff that you go, yeah, I'd like to win that, go give it to somebody. So that's really a cool place to be in life. Yeah, you make a lot of money to give away. Remember that, to give away. So what else? Can I tell a joke? I have to introduce you. Yeah, a couple more seconds.
TikTok.
TikTok. We're waiting for more.
Hopefully that means they're washing their hands.
We're making more.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark and Chad's here. Chad, you did a beautiful job. All right, for Sean's
We're
part.
peer work. And one back 5 years.
Presentation, David McCormick here, and Jim McCormick's here. Unbelievable story on them. She was an attorney, she was a school teacher. Jim McCormick was a huge engineer. Came here from Houston, did the same thing as Chad Williams. Moved up from Houston, Texas. He came from San Antonio, so we're getting all these Texans, which is great, but we like them. Yeah.
Don't mess with Texas.
All right.
Or Indiana.
Kayla's here?
Or Indiana.
Indiana. Oh, that's where you were born. All right, I got my contact.
Maybe that's two.
All right, so here we go. This is my wife Denise. She is incredible. She's going to be speaking at GoPro for Women in March. She is a rock star. They all run together for me. She's going on the women's cruise with Michelle Wallach next week. That will be exciting. Ronnie Johnson's going. Trish is going. Marianne Niehaus is going. So a lot of people in this room are going on that cruise, and they're even going to Cuba. So they'll come back cigar smokers. That's going to be quite exciting. Alcohol. Tequila? Rum. Okay, rum. They'll be drinking rum and smoking cigars when they come home. So I'll have to take her to rehab. That'll be exciting. So that'll be a very, very good start on the day. Yeah, they'll take us into May. Then she'll go to the AMP. But you guys, it's an unbelievable life that we want you to have. And this little rock star, I mean, she had a penny in her checking account when I met her. She said, talk fast. I go, why is that? She says, because my phone's going to get disconnected. I said, why? She said, because I don't have any money. I said, how much money do you have? She said, I have a penny in my checking account. I said, then guess what I did? I started talking fast. But I love her so much, I actually paid her phone bill. It was $40. But this is one budgeting room, and her little boy was going to a private school. She paid for that school, come heck or high water, and everything else, including food, cable TV, everything went by the wayside because that education for her son was so unbelievably important. She's a great woman. She's been on the stage for Eric Worre, been on the stage at A&P, been on the stage at Longevity Forever, this woman is one of the few people who has been featured on HBO.
Do not look that up.
She is like famous, so take it away.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to have more views. That's bad. That was rather shocking. So I love this presentation. Some of you have seen it, but I love it so much that I thought I'd run through it again because for me, when I studied with Martha Beck, who is a life coach, she was a Harvard professor first. And was in academia and realized that she loved parts of it, but every time she would drive to work to teach, she got this, she was a sociology teacher, professor, and she got this rock in the pit of her stomach, and she realized that she hated her job. She loved the students, she hated all the politics around being a professor. And so she started looking at what she's sort of coined as the social self versus the essential self. And the difference in the social self versus the essential self is the essential self is that little baby that you see that's running around and screaming and crying and doing crazy, funny things and has no care in the world. That is your essential self. That is the self that you were born to be, meant to be, without any social constraints. And so she started looking at the fact that she was a professor a lot because of her social self. And her essential self was crying out to be something different. And you see that with a lot of people as they go through their life. And this change cycle is something that she developed. And when I first heard about it, I was like this light bulb went on in my mind, because it really told me why we can control a lot of things in our business and network marketing. But one thing that we maybe can't control is somebody else's timing, right? So this change cycle, as we go through it, I want you to look at it from the standpoint of how does it apply to you and how does it apply to your business and people that you're talking to. So Martha Beck, in the book Finding Your North Star, she talks about the process of life is a very predictable. And if you know that it's predictable, it can really be a roadmap so you don't totally freak out when things happen, right? So it's a little bit like the metamorphosis of a butterfly. So every transformation that you go through follows a similar sequence. And once you know this, then you can go, okay, I know this. I know this process, and you won't be so scared. So really, what it follows is this. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, death and rebirth, and then you go to dreaming and scheming, down to square 3, which is the Hero Saga, and then the Promised Land. And I'll go through each one of these. But starting with death and rebirth. Oh, that's a bummer. Dang it. Tom knows.
So-
I'm like, oh, this drives me crazy.
It's okay.
That's why I showed you. Look what he did to my gum. This drives me crazy.
So it says Caterpillar Meltdown is perfect.
Caterpillar, yeah. I think that. No, yeah. So I make all my presentations in Keynote. I love Keynote because I can really do it just on my phone. So anyway, death and rebirth. Here's what happens. There's 3 types. Let me back up. I got a little. So what happens is that you're going along in your life and everything's pretty okay, and then something happens. And in chemistry, we call this, when you have something that sparks a reaction, that's the catalyst, right? So you have a catalyst moment, and there's 3 types of catalysts. One is shock. So something happens outside of yourself. So it can be big, like a death in your family. It can be you got fired from your job. It can be a divorce, something that you weren't planning on, right? The second is opportunity. Now, opportunities always look like, it's like a happy occurrence. So maybe at your job, you were told that you were moving up in range, maybe now you're a manager, but you need to move to Kansas. Okay, so you're like, oh, that's good and different. Growth is the sort of thing that it happens over time. So you may be going along in your life and you're like, I just feel like this sort of inner turmoil is happening and I need to make some changes. And it goes along for a period of time and then it grows and grows and grows, mostly because, let me just tell you, you're not really acting out of your essential self, you're more being confined by your social self. So your friends and family and environment are telling you who to be and how to act. So if you're going along and you're feeling this unbalance to the point where you're like, I gotta do something different. That's growth. And so what people do during this stage is they feel a real sense of loss of their old life, but then they start to look towards how can I build this into something different. And so the mantra here is, oh gosh, it sucks. I don't know. But the mantra is actually, I don't know what's going on and that's okay. So sorry, we transferred this, poor Mary Ann transferred this from Keynote to PowerPoint, that's why it got jacked
We're
up.
watching the rebirth right now.
I don't know what's going on, and that's okay. Yeah, it's a shock, denial, no, it looks fine. So can you see this in your own life? It totally, and it happens in little ways and it happens in big ways. So stage 2 is now you go into the dreaming and scheming. And you can identify this too, right? So you start to get excited about the next phase in your life, and you go, oh, well, maybe I'll move to Santa Fe and I'll become an artist. Like, I have not one iota of artistic ability. You know, so some of the things are really far-fetched, but you kind of like, you just go at it, like your mind goes crazy, and it's keeping you up at night, and you think of all these different things that you could do and be. And then you kind of go, okay, no, I gotta get grounded a little bit and really think about what reality seeps in, and you go, what is the next phase? But the dreaming and scheming phase is really fun and cool and a little scary, but exciting. So when I started learning about this change cycle, I thought about when you're talking to a prospect, right? And if they're in stage 1, where they're like, oh my God, my world has just been turned upside down, they actually may be open to what you have to offer, right? Because they're like, my world is upside down, you know, sock it to me, show me what you got. In stage 2, with the dreaming and scheming, they may be really open to the possibility of including longevity in their life and building a business, because that's the stage that they're in. So the mantra in stage 2 there are no rules, and that's okay. So, you know, when you have something that happened in your life that you didn't have any control of, then you start to, maybe it's a divorce. I've gone through a divorce, and I can totally relate to this. Is, you know, during that time when financially everything was up in the air, I was like, okay, that's okay. I can control this. Like Tom said, I was really good at budgeting. So I put a budget into my life, and if I had $20 to live on for that week, then that's what I lived on. But I was dreaming about what would life look like if I had an extra $200, $500 a month. What doors could open? So the dreaming and scheming is really exciting. Now the Hero Saga it's when you look at all the famous movies like Star Wars, like The Matrix, Harry Potter, you know, it's that the Hero Saga is the storyline, the epic storyline that goes through all these famous movies. And really what it is you have like Bilbo Baggins, right? He's just a lowly little character, and he hears a calling. And he goes, no, I can't do that. I'm just a lowly little guy, and that's not for me. And he hears the calling again. And he hears the call, and finally he goes, okay, I've got to go do this, right? And so the hero sets out on this epic journey. And what happens is that the best laid plans go awry. And so he tries to put it into motion, and he gets denied. So he tweaks it a little bit, and it doesn't work out. And so he tries it another way, and to still no avail. And then finally, the 4th time, you know, it may actually work, and he goes back, and he's a hero. Well, this is if you know that you have this plan, you have this new dream, I'm going to put it into effect. And what's going to happen, and if you know this is going to happen, is that you actually have to take action to make your dream happen. And big dreams call for big action. that it's probably not going to work exactly the way you envisioned it the very first time. So you're going to have to tweak it a little bit and try again, and try again, and try again. And if you know this, if you know that this is part of the process, then it's not so scary, right? So the mantra here is, this is a lot harder than I expected, and that's okay. And a lot of us in our business right now in longevity are at this point where we're going, holy moly, I didn't know that this was going to be so hard. I didn't know I was going to get rejected so often. I didn't know it was going to be so hard to get to 1 star. But if you know that it's the action, and it's in the action that you learn and you reboot and you try it again, then that is 99% of the battle. Am I right? So the good thing is that it will work. You will get there if you keep putting in the work and the action, okay? So then the square 4 is the promised land. And this is where you finally, all that work pays off. And you get to the point where you're like, life is workable. It feels good, it's comfortable, everything is going along just as well as you can expect. Now, when you go to present to somebody and talk to them about the opportunity of longevity, if they're in square 4, then are they going to be really open to what you have to offer? Maybe not. If they're really comfortable, if life is workable and they're able to keep their head above water and life is good, then they may not be open. But the good thing and the bad thing is everything changes. And so there may be a catalytic event that happens in the future. Like my sister, we've been in this business for over 20 years. She knew what longevity was. It wasn't until she went through a divorce that she was open to looking at longevity and network marketing. Why? Because she had a teenage daughter that she wanted to be able to support and be there for. So it was at that point that she became more open to the opportunity. Now, the good thing about stage 4 is you can really, the goal is to hang out here as long as possible, right? Don't make any drastic measures if you don't have to. If you are feeling a different calling, then tweak some things in your life a lot, but don't blow up the ship. Does that make sense? So when I started looking at this process, it really started making sense because we can really become good at the skills in network marketing. But the one thing that you may not have absolute control over is somebody else's timing, right? So that's why developing the relationship that we talk about in the coffee shop interview, developing the relationship and the follow-up, the consistent follow-up from, just checking in with people. How's it going? How's your life? Tell me about what's going on with you. That's why it's so important, because change is always happening. And somebody's life yesterday may not be what somebody's life is today. And so I hope that this was a little bit of an aha moment for you, as it was for me when I heard about this, because it really answered a lot of questions as far as somebody else's timing. So there we go. Isn't that even the caterpillar's pretty, don't you think? Caterpillars are really, but look at that butterfly. So I hope that was helpful. And Trish?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So let's say you have someone's gotten out of stage 2, or they're in stage 2.
So they're dreaming and scheming. Yeah.
And their friends in stage 1.
And their friends in stage 1.
And they still join. And stage 2 is coaching stage 1 and move to the next square.
Right.
How would you do that?
Yeah, that can
Since you're
happen.
a good coach, how would you do that?
So if I'm in stage 2 and I'm dreaming and scheming about a new life and what can be different, but you're in stage 1 where you have something happen or you have this sense of I want a different life.
You recruited a stage 1. and
Yeah.
Stage 2.
Yeah. So what I would do with that is open up their eyes to the dream. What are they dreaming and scheming about, right? So what is it that's important to you? Do you want more time? Do you want to be able to travel like Juliet was saying? Do you want to be able to stay home with your kids? Do you want to be able to build a business in different parts of the country, in different parts of the world? What is it that's important to you? When you use that coffee shop interview, you can really dive down into what's underneath their dreams, right? And you can use that to your benefit when you're talking about longevity. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anybody else have questions?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. You're